Hi guys, hope you're having a great morning. This is Fred and Sheila with Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures and FS Investigates.
Hey guys, good morning to you. First thing I guess we're going to do is play a video and then we'll go into it. What today's topic is dealing with is the Kentucky State Police. You know, you can go to Fred McCoy 40. I started that channel a while back and got hundreds of videos on there of bad cops. I spent 40 years as a police officer. Plenty of fights, plenty of struggles, plenty of controversy, plenty of everything that police officers have. It's every career, every police officer. If you're worth your salt, you're probably going to have some controversy, some different things. There's a difference in controversy or rumors or things like that and video. The people can say anything they want, and it may be true and it may not be true. Usually it's not. I'll just take up for the police officers. Usually it's not. Occasionally it is. But when it's undeniable, when it's on a video and there's no line about it. A picture's worth 1,000 words. The trooper we're going to talk about today is going to be Jarrod Lewis. He was arrested for DUI recently, but that's not the story. The story is that he was indicted federally. He only one in the background here. March the 4th, I think it was, of this year. This young man's on the ground with his arms behind his back.
I don't know if you can see that.
That is a taser. That is a taser in that trooper's hand right there.
Yeah.
He tases that man not once, but twice. Now,
wow.
Again, this story today is going to be about a DUI of a trooper, an arrest. But this trooper, along with that trooper and another trooper, have all been indicted federally. And the question is, why are they still even on the job? Why are they still out there? You're going to hear one news reporter in a minute that says that she inquired to see about this trooper here, and she couldn't get no response. No response from the state police commissioner, from nobody in the state police.
Wow.
Why the cover-up? Either you've got good state troopers or you don't. If you don't, get rid of them. If you don't, start over. Don't take a chance. There's troopers out there, guys, that's under federal indictment. This is one of them we're going to talk about right here in a minute. A trooper that's under a federal indictment. That's out there arresting people and charging people with crimes or traffic violations less than what he's under a federal indictment for. How many people out here are under federal indictment? Play the video, babe.
Okay. I'm going to have to go out of here just for a second.
That's fine.
Guys, let's see if I can do this right. Let's try it this way and then add this.
New at 4, a Kentucky State trooper based in Elizabethtown is running into more legal trouble. A closer look, Trooper Jarrod Lewis was arrested in Barron County May 7th. The charges for driving under the influence and for having an open container. An arrest slip we found says Lewis admitted to drinking 3 twisted teas and a pirate water before apparently getting into an argument with his wife, then driving to a church to, quote, cool off. Police say he blew a .21 blood alcohol level, which is more than double the legal limit. Lewis was also federally indicted back in March. He's been accused of using excessive force. We have reached out to KSB about his status with the agency. We are still waiting for a response.
Of course you are. Of course you're still waiting for a response. And you can show a skeleton in a picture waiting for a response 5 years from now.
Oh.
Why is the state police not responding? They never respond. These are bad officers. One strike and they should be out. Bad officers. No response. Guys, you got something wrong with your commissioner. You got something wrong with your administration. Your heavies. As one guy calls them.
Higher ups.
Higher ups. Yeah. You got something wrong. You got the news media inquiring as to why is this happening? Why is this man under a federal indictment and he's still out there Now he's got a DUI. First of all, let's put a disclaimer. There'll be one at the end of the video, as always. But understand, just because in America, just because somebody's arrested or charged with something doesn't make them guilty. In America, you're innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
So we'll have to wait and see what the outcome is on the federal trial, and we'll have to wait and see what the outcome is on this DUI arrest. But Jarrod Lewis, 28, was arrested in the parking lot of Park Methodist Church in Hatfield, Kentucky. When police arrived, they found Lewis's wife was also in the parking lot in a separate vehicle. Looks like they've had a domestic.
Wow.
Investigators learned that Lewis and his wife had gotten into an argument, and he drove to the church to cool off. He was booked in the Barron County Detention Center and has since been released on his own recognizance. I think he was released the same day. Court records show his next court appearance is May the 29th. Okay. Lewis was also indicted in a federal court in March on one count of unreasonable use of force. The man is already under indictment, still working, Kentucky State Trooper. Guys, this man has arrested people for DUI. Now, some people says, Fred, why do you cover these police officers so much, especially the Kentucky State Police? Kentucky State Police, when I was a kid growing up, was the supreme law enforcement agency in Kentucky. That was the ultimate. I thought the Kentucky State Police and the FBI could walk on water as a child. Since I was a child and 40-year career in law enforcement, I found out neither one of those are true. Very disappointing. This trooper that just got arrested for DUI for being in a domestic with his wife was drunk. He'd been arrested for being drunk. He's already under indictment, federal indictment. But he's still policing citizens who's not under a federal indictment. This man's under federal indictment. They didn't give the news crew an interview as to what his position was. When they don't do that, more than likely, I could be wrong. But see, I have the right to be wrong because the heavies, Frankfurt, the commissioner, won't answer the newscasters or return their calls. They wanted to know, since these troopers have been indicted, have they been fired? Are they still working the road? Are they suspended? Are they suspended with pay? Are they... News crew said they've not returned their calls. So since they don't want to return the calls, they have the option of clearing all that up, then we have to assume that the troopers are still working. And they're ashamed to tell us that they've still got these troopers on the job. Could be wrong, but I have a feeling that it's safe to assume that. Otherwise, they would come out and say, these troopers have been fired. These troopers have been suspended. These troopers... They didn't do that. The last thing that news reporter said was state police had not returned their calls, not responded. So we're going to have to assume, and since they're not responding, we can assume whatever we want. I guess it's safe. And I'm assuming that they're still working, at least two of them. So he's under federal indictment, and they're still out here working. They were indicted March the 4th. This is May the 7th when this trooper was arrested for DUI. Does it make any sense to you? Carrier Journal previously reported the indictment alleges Lewis, along with two former KSP troopers, used unreasonable force against an unidentified person by stomping and kicking them without legal justification. What legal justification other than a person had a gun on you that you could stomp and kick on them? It's one thing to fight, and as a police officer of 40 years, been in plenty of resisting arrest, been in plenty of fights. But when the resisting is over, when the fighting is over, when the cuffs are on, the hands are off. This man in that picture there has got his arms behind his back.
You can
He's gave up. A trooper tases him twice. That's one of the troopers that they're talking about in this federal indictment, the way I understand it. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Just some stomping and kicking. In another video, this gentleman will be identified. There was another video where the same trooper, or at least troopers, were involved in another incident. You'll hear the attorney talk about it in a minute in another video. This unidentified person was struck in the face, head, shoulders, upper body, back, ankles, feet, torso, according to the indictment. It's not a report. It's not a rumor. It's not something that somebody, he was indicted. There was 12 people, federal grand jurors, and at least 9 of them. I assume that the federal system's on the same scale as the state. In a state grand jury, it takes 9 of the 12 to bring back an indictment.
Okay.
Lewis faces up to 10 years in prison if convicted under federal charges. Now, we're still talking about the man, the trooper, for DUI.
So he can get 7 years just for the DUI?
No.
Oh, okay.
10 years federal under his conviction. If he's convicted for the justified use of force,
whatever. Yeah. Okay.
He can get 10 years in federal prison.
Okay.
According to arrest citation May the 7th, here's when you're talking about the DUI.
Mm-hmm.
May the 7th, Lewis is employed by KSP in Elizabethtown. I think that's post 4. KSP post 4 he works out of. Kentucky State Police, this was in the newspaper evidently, and the Kentucky State Police is committed to upholding the high standards of professionalism, ethics, and morals in service to the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And Fred McCoy says that, bull crap. We call hogwash on that. I do. Hogwash. They want you to think that they hold up the highest standards and professionalisms, and they hire people that steals overtime. They have people that steals guns. They steal ammo. They steal fencing. They do all the things that they do, and they're still state troopers. They don't fire them. One strike and you're out. When you're a police officer in any department, and there's proof such as videos, pictures, things like that, where there's no doubt that this happened, one strike and you're out. You're better off to go out and train a completely new officer than you are to try to work with one that's already proved himself as having bad morals. And you know, guys, I'm down on police officers and state police, because I don't know what's happened to them all of a sudden. We used to be protect and serve, and now we're anything but. Now we're beat up and shoot. But you're going to hear about a good trooper here in a minute. So I've always said there's good cops out there. There's still good cops, and there have been good cops, and there's been bad cops. I'm going to show you one here in a minute, but let's keep on going. Trooper Jason Atkinson with KSP Post 3 conducted field sobriety test and determined Lewis was under the influence. There's your hero. There's your hero. Without a doubt, his character just confirmed. He's proven. Sheila, what they say on that movie, Oh Brother, We're Out There, them little girls would holler and say,
Bonafide.
Bonafide. He's bonafide. Trooper Jason Atkinson's son, how do you pronounce that, babe?
Atkinson
is bona fide.
Atkinson.
Good morals, good character, honor, integrity. Arrested a fellow trooper that was doing wrong. How many other troopers out there would do that? Not many.
Good job.
Not many. Now, and he will be shunned by some of his fellow troopers for this.
What's that?
He will be shunned. I know this from experience. My Hatfield partner and I, when we were detectives, we've done this. And all these people pat you on the back and say, oh, man, appreciate you standing up. We're behind you. Yeah, they're so far behind you that you'll never know they're there again. Way to go, trooper.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
If there's anybody gave the state police a good mark for a change, it's that trooper right there for arresting this other trooper that's already under a federal indictment. Now he's out driving drunk. Could have been your family going down the road, my family, anybody's family. No drunk driver ever gets on the road driving drunk with the intent, the goal to go out and see if I can't get in a wreck tonight, me drunk. It's an accident, unplanned event, but it's because of carelessness and negligence recklessness that something occurs. A breath test showed his blood alcohol content 0.21, nearly 3 times the legal limit of 0.08,
Wow.
nearly 3 times drunk. Trooper also noted containers, open containers in the vehicle, including a Pirate water alcohol beverage. I didn't even know what this stuff was, and
Neither.
we're going to show you here in a minute, but Lewis told officers he had purchased 2 twisted teas in London. Here we go with London, Kentucky. He'd stopped in London, Kentucky, and got him 2 twisted teas that afternoon, followed by another twisted tea and a Pirate water in Edmonton on his way home. So evidently he's on his way to Barron County. And we looked up twisted teas, original flavor, and most products typically have an alcohol content of 0.5%. However, some variations like Twisted Tea Extreme has a higher alcohol content of 8% alcohol. 8% alcohol. Pirate water is a 10% per 16-ounce beverage. 10% alcohol. Pirate water is 10% alcohol.
4 distinct flavors.
4 distinct tropical flavors.
Wow.
We had to look it up because I Pirate water, twisted teas, maybe I'm getting old. Whatever happened to the old Budweiser or Miller or whatever. Now, 10% on the Pirate water alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget how many he said he stopped and got in
2,
Edmonton. And he got another twisted tea in Edmonton. Emergency medical services were called to the scene, but Lewis declined. If you see that picture there of him, looks like he may have got the bad end of that domestic there with his wife.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Or maybe he's just actually that intoxicated and fell down, or from looks of his head, his wife may have won that round. Lewis was charged with operating a motor vehicle under influence of alcohol, possession of alcoholic beverage container, open container in the vehicle. He was taken to the Barron County Detention Center, Barron County, down in Glasgow. Glasgow, Cave City area.
Okay.
He's assigned to Post 4 in Elizabethtown, taken in custody after state police begin an investigation. They had a 911 hang-up call that came from his home.
Whoa.
Multiple callback attempts went unanswered, according to the citation. So his wife, I assume, somebody has tried to call 911 for help and got disconnected. And they send out the police to see what's going on. If you call 911 and you don't answer the phone back when they call back, they're going to send somebody to your address. If you're ever in a burglary, you ever hear somebody in your home at night, anything at all, and you need the police, just call 911, lay your phone, throw it underneath the bed, throw it to the side. 911 and throw it to the side. So the burglar, the intruder, whatever it is, doesn't even know you've called. Mm-hmm. Now remember that phone call is still open mic. It's going to be open. So watch what you say. There's been people that's actually shot somebody. They were in their house. A man's home is his castle, or maybe they shot him on the porch and they would say, drag them in here. Well, that's on the phone. So certainly don't want to do that. And if you do it, you certainly don't want it on the phone. But most people's not going to do that anyway. Exactly. If you're in your home, minding your own business, and somebody comes in on you, that's your castle. You're allowed to defend yourself. Take your phone out, 911, throw it into bed. They're going to send the police out. They're going to send somebody to you. And that's what they did here. And on their way out, they've passed these 2 vehicles, or they've seen them sitting on the church parking lot. Troopers located Lewis and his wife, who was in separate vehicles. He had a cut on his head, the police said. The citation states Lewis had become upset and left the residence to cool off. How about sober up? If he's had what he told him he had to drink, I know I would be drunk. I don't know how big this guy is, but normal sized guy or smaller would definitely be intoxicated. First thing we want to do is go out and get in a 6,000-pound bullet. You know, a gun's a deadly weapon in Kentucky. one bullet, one person. Take that vehicle right there, 3 to 6,000 pounds, according to SUV or what it is. Take out a whole family. Take out a whole school bus like Larry Mahoney did back in the 70s or 80s. When troopers arrived, the truck was still warm to the touch and the keys were in the ignition. Of course, you're going to hear a good lawyer. You're going to hear a good lawyer in court when this comes up. He's going to say, my client hadn't even had nothing to drink yet. He pulled up on the church lot, and that's when he started consuming all the alcohol. That's when he got drunk. He didn't operate his vehicle once he left. When he was going to leave that church, he was going to wait and sober up. He hadn't drank nothing before he got there. I'm telling you from experience of 40 years, the story the jury is going to hear. Jurors, you're going to have to get smarter out there. You're going to have to get smarter and realize that just because these guys carry a uniform, a gun, and a badge, they don't always tell you the truth. You're going to have to go with common sense. You got to realize that some things is suppressed. Evidence is suppressed. You may not hear the whole case.
So it's not as it seems. Everything's not as it seems.
Sometimes you may not get to hear all the evidence in a case. If a good lawyer, and that's a lawyer's job. That's what he does. You're hiring him to. Not what actions are showing. The Kentucky State Police is committed to upholding the high standards. What high standards? And professionalism, where they at over the last couple of decades, 3 decades? Where they at? Because I certainly haven't seen a lot of them. Ethics and morals owe it to the citizens. You owe it to the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. You know, guys, right now, I think the starting pay for a Kentucky State Trooper, I could be wrong, is $67,000 a year.
Good.
A rookie.
Night.
A rookie right out of the academy, $67,000 with about 20 holidays a year, with about a month's worth of sick time and off time, and they work about 8 months out of the year. It's unbelievable. And we can't get quality. We don't deserve the best of the best to be our state troopers. We do. You know, you've heard that old saying, I pay your salary. Well, as a police officer, we pay our own salary too. We also pay taxes back out of our checks. Mm-hmm. But for those that do pay taxes, for those that do, and we cannot do without law enforcement. We got to have law enforcement.
There would be havoc everywhere if there wasn't something to somebody or something to control it.
Yes, there would. But we can have better quality and control. A lot of it begins with our administrators, our commissioners. When our commissioner is as bad as any of the troopers, and all you got to do is YouTube them, go to Fred McCoy 40, and you'll see a YouTube video where the commissioner of the state police today, appointed by the governor of Kentucky, arrest a man for pointing his finger at him. I'm tired of being harassed. He says, get out, you're under arrest. I can't see through these windows. I can't. And that guy says, that's because you got them dark sunglasses on. And it was true. And we've had our own experience with him also, as far as truthfulness. And boys, if you can't trust people, if you lose your trust in your police, you've lost everything. And society today is losing their trust. Wait a minute, I got a couple more videos coming. Don't leave me now. Lord, I've gone long. Not what actions are shown by the KSP. Actions speak louder than words. Suspended now, or was he already suspended? It says that he's suspended for his I think he's suspended for the indictment.
Okay.
He should be suspended for the DUI. He don't even have a driver's license now. Driver's license should be taken until the court trial. But I think it said that he was suspended now for the March 4th indictment.
Okay.
Should have already been suspended. If not already suspended, why wasn't he? What happened to the other 2 troopers? Are they suspended? Why suspended for indictment and not for the DUI? 1 strike and you're out. Commend the trooper who arrested him once again. Federal grand jury. This is the court case where they were indicted March the 4th, charging 1 former and 2 current Kentucky state troopers with violating an individual's civil rights. So one of the troopers, according to the indictment, Kentucky State Police Trooper Thomas Carter Skill, 34, is charged with 2 counts of unreasonable force. Kentucky State Trooper Jarrod Lewis, 29, was charged with 1 count of using unreasonable force, and Kentucky State Trooper James Cameron Wright, 30, was charged with 2 counts of using unusual force. And perjury. Ooh. Related to false declaration made under oath in connection with his federal civil case. So he lied. Show other 2 videos. You know, guys, in one of these videos, it talks about these troopers in this case where they went into these people's basement arresting their son, and then they erased their phones where the guy had been filming them. They tried to erase it, but they didn't know the guy had a home security system that was filming inside. They got in trouble over that. They'd already been in trouble once, or at least one of the troopers had. But and that reminds me of got to report a while back what little bit of open records we got for the Joseph Couch case. And we had requested open records request for the video cam from the 2 troopers. When Sheila and I found the body of Mr. Couch, we requested the body cam because the troopers were way up on the hill, and when I hollered, I found them. They come running with everything they had. And they're asking, is he on your left, and so forth. But yet in the troopers' report, at least one of the troopers, which is a liar, in his report, he says that he was there when we found the body. Well, no, he don't. He's asking me, is he on your left? We asked for the body cam. The report we got back was that the trooper's body cam had fallen off, and he had stuck the camera in his pocket earlier when they started over the hill. You guys listen to this and see if this makes sense to you. You're in the woods. You're searching for a man that has shot 5 people, 17 vehicles. And you're in the woods looking for them. You drop your body camera, so you stick your body camera in your pocket. You're looking for a man that is that desperate, and you put your body camera in your pocket. Do you believe that? See, we don't. The reason Sheila and I was videotaping that day live is because for the previous 5 days, we had been calling either my brother or my sister and telling them where we were at, and if we wasn't out of the woods by dark, to call the state police and tell them we parked at the truck stop, we parked at the cell tower, and that we were in the woods looking for Mr. Couch. The only reason we were live streaming that day is because we didn't take the time. We'd already got in the woods from all the buzzards. We didn't take the time to call them. We just said go live because we were going to film the birds.
Yeah, we were excited about seeing the birds and stuff.
We had that camera out for our protection. Mm-hmm. We didn't know if he was going to get the jump on us. We knew he'd get the jump on us because he's got the advantage. He's just sitting there waiting. We're walking on crackling leaves and all this and that. So he had the advantage. We didn't know at that time that he had already offed himself. We didn't know that. So we're trying to protect ourselves. So when Sheila's filming live, what was it, Did You Marry or something?
Digging Mary. People that's become friends of Sheila's was actually on there. That was our life support. Had he come out with a gun and took us hostage or killed us, there would be somebody on that live feed that could say, hey, we just witnessed a crime. Mm-hmm. We wanted to videotape for protection, but we have a state trooper that they're saying, well, he didn't have his video because it knocked it off and he put it in his pocket. Okay, now we've sent in another open records request. Send us the video that he got. Send us the video up to the point of when he goes to the bushes and his camera falls off, but rather than putting it back on, he just sticks it in his utility pocket, I think is what the report says. Guys, we're supposed to trust people like this. This is the Kentucky State Police that we're supposed to trust. You've got these other 2 troopers that's on there erasing this guy's phone. You're going to hear in a minute on this other video. Mm-hmm. Erased a man's telephone, his video. and we're supposed to trust these people? What has happened? Searching for a man, shot 5 people, 17 cars. Special kind of stupid. Or didn't he want to show how far up the hill they were? They didn't want that body cam to show where they were at when we hollered. That body camera would show them running down the hill full blast to us. They wasn't with us when we found that body. What about the body cam of the troopers the day before? We've asked for that. The night before we were up there, and 4 troopers come up there. We're trying to show them the birds and saying something is over there dead. They wasn't concerned. Mentioned a shirt to them, not concerned. Had body cams on. We've requested for their body camera because he picks up a live round laying on the ground where Joseph Coucher's car was parked the 12 days before and takes the round. I said, "What's that?" And he takes the bullet and throws it over the hill. Like it's nothing. It's called evidence. What's going on, people? Gone from protect to serve to beat down and shoot. People lie. Body cams don't lie. Body cams don't lie. Why is it? And when we request to open records for a body cam, they don't exist. Now we've got to go hire a lawyer. And they send you the letter back and they say, if you don't agree with what we're saying, you can file a complaint with the Attorney General's office. We're not going to file a complaint with the Attorney General's office. We're going to file a suit. And then the public records person that's in the state police can come to court and swear under oath. The state troopers can come to court. Because if we've got YouTubing, if we're YouTubing and we've got video showing these cameras on their uniforms, how are they going to? If you see a man on the ground with his hands behind his back and gets tasered twice, I'm not going to go over all this.
Okay.
Play that next video, bud.
All right. Just a second.
State police being called to task after 3 of their own are indicted for a series of civil rights violations, including kicking and stomping on a victim and lying.
Yeah, 2 current and 1 former trooper are now facing years in prison in 4 separate cases. The Wave News troubleshooter Natalia Martinez broke this story and is now joining us with exclusive video showing the trooper tasing a man not once but twice.
Warning, the video is graphic, Brian. This is one of a handful of incidents KSP Trooper Cameron Wright is charged with. Thomas Sartorsky and Jarrod Lewis are also on the indictment. This is video of Kentucky State Police Trooper Cameron Wright, one of 3 troopers indicted Tuesday by the feds for allegedly violating people's civil rights. In this dash cam video from May of 2024, Wright takes down John Millett after pulling him over for suspected drunk driving. He then tases him, although Millett's hands are behind his back and he's sitting on the ground. He then tases him again. That comes before he stands Millett up and then slams him to the ground while his hands are in handcuffs. Attorney Chris Weiss represents Millett and says there's no excuse for Wright's actions.
It's this aggressive, I'm taking you to the ground, and by the way, I know you're not resisting. And I know I got sued for excessive force in federal court, and I'm lucky I didn't get indicted, but you know what? I'm going to pull out my taser and gratuitously tase you.
This isn't the only time Weiss has come across Trooper Cameron Wright. Here he is, along with then Trooper Thomas Sartorsky in Alex Hornback's basement. Wright strikes Hornback with his flashlight once he's taken down. Both troopers are accused of deleting Hornback's father's cell phone video, but they didn't know there was a surveillance camera too. Sartorsky was charged and fired for lying about using force, but Wright hadn't been until now. In the meantime, he remained on the force.
And I would have thought that that incident would have humbled him in a way where it might have been a lesson learned.
Sartorsky and Trooper Jarrod Lewis are also facing charges for excessive use of force, kicking, and stomping a victim, the indictment says, in an incident in 2020.
This is justice delayed, hopefully, not justice denied. And
Millett had 5 broken ribs. I called KSP to ask them if the troopers Lewis and Wright are still on the street and why Wright wasn't fired after he was caught lying. I haven't heard back. They all face decades in federal prison where there is no parole. This case was investigated by the FBI's Public Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Task Force. Natalia Martinez, Wave News.
Wow.
Guys, they work for us. Notice the state police, even on this case, they didn't return the calls. They didn't respond. They work for us. The commissioner of the state police works for us. The state police work for us. We deserve accountability. I hope the jurors, if there's a civil suit, and surely there will be, this man was handcuffed behind his back and then slung and broke 4 or 5, 6 of his ribs. One report says 7. What was the purpose in that? We're that manly that we have to handcuff somebody and then beat them up or tase them? Guys, we deserve better. And it's getting worse. I'm sorry to tell you, but it's getting worse. You know, that person, one of those troopers was fired in that basement. Sikorsky, or whatever his name was fired. I believe is the way it was. But the other one, the right, wasn't fired. And he lied also. He lied, but they kept him on the state police. And then here he is, again, beating up on this guy.
Wow.
Later on, he's right back at it, doing the same thing again. Now, the question is, how many times has he done it where it wasn't videoed? How many times has he done it where a person didn't file a complaint and they just say, it's easier just to pay my fine and go to jail?
Do my time.
I'm not saying there's times, guys, that police officers don't have to fight, because there's guys out there that says, hey, they took me to jail, but it took 5 of them. There's people out there that wants to fight. They get drunk, 6 feet tall, bulletproof. When the cuffs go on, we don't have to treat them like that. That's abuse. We can't have even one bad officer. One strike and you're out. And that's what Kentuckians, Americans, we have to have police. We need them.
Yes.
And there are good, honest ones out there. But we've got to quit letting the bad ones scare the good ones. We've got to quit letting the people take up for the bad ones. Play it last video, baby, and we'll be done.
All right, Judge.
This is almost the same thing, but you'll hear a couple of things different. So it's just a minute long.
Okay. Just a second. Let me get that.
We have got to police our own, and this kind of, thuggery that we see with Cameron Wright, it's got to stop. We can't have it anymore.
And that's what we wanted.
State court and was fired in the Hornback case. Wright
That's what I was
on
wanting
the
to show.
job.
Jarrod
Lewis is also still with Kentucky State Police currently. I called KSP for a comment. They never called me back.
Okay.
Never called me back. And they won't. They won't. There's no justification. They don't want to tell you that those troopers are still on the job. They don't want to tell you that there's no punishment. Those troopers will go on and commit more crimes. In the criminal justice behavior, a person's past will often predict their future. It's just the way that it is. If you're a criminal, you're a criminal. It just often predicts the future. Drug this video out long enough. I'm so sorry. I know half of you's not here. Guys, it's not been down on the police. I love the police. We got to have the police. I was one for 40 years. Thank God. And I'm not saying I didn't have to fight. I didn't have to arrest. We didn't have to take people physically to jail. But there's a difference in taking people to jail and arresting them and abusing somebody. And it's become a part of abuse. It's like they want to go hands-on. Go ahead, babe. I'm done.
All right. Well, hopefully something will be done in the future on all of this. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope everyone's doing well today. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Yin and yang. Yin and yang.
It's all good. That's good.
Subscribe.
Oh,
all
I want to
right.
hurt your finger.
Go ahead. Nah, you ain't gonna hurt me.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.
God bless. Bye.